Many women may not stop to think about how their rights came to be. Many may not think we had to fight for them at all. In America, however, there were people that fought for women's suffrage, and one of the most important people today dealing with this subject is Carrie Chapman Catt. If it weren't for Carrie Chapman Catt, women may still not be able to vote. I, for one, would be very upset if I didn't have the rights that I have today. It's an important right that we are all fortunate to have and may all too often take for granted. I only live 15 minutes from Carrie Chapman Catt's house located in Charles City, Iowa. I have visited it and it is truly a fascinating place with a lot of history. I have learned about Catt in school and know how she has impacted my life in various ways. Carrie's history, her actions in the women's suffrage, and the amendment being passed are all important things to consider when discussing Carrie Chapman Catt. Carrie's history is a very important thing. Carrie was born January 9, 1859 in Ripton, Wisconsin. She is the middle of 3 children. She had a brother, Louis, and a sister, Maria. When Carrie Clinton Lane was 7, her and her family moved to Charles City, Iowa. She graduated from Charles City High School in 1877. It is stated on the Carrie Chapman Catt website that she continued her education and she graduated from Iowa Agricultural College and Model Farm in Ames, better known now as Iowa State University, in 1880. Carrie was the only female in her graduating class. She worked hard all throughout college and continued on with that trend after she graduated. She did this by becoming a law clerk, followed by a school teacher, and then eventually a principal. Carrie was one of the first chosen as a female superintendent in the nation in 1883. Carrie's first husband, Leo Chapman, who she married in 1885, died of typhoid fever a year after they were wed while living in San Francisco to find a job. Carrie arrived a few days after Leo's death and decided to stay in San Francisco. She decided to stay and was employed by a newspaper. She moved back to Charles City in 1887. Carrie started to become involved in women's suffrage after moving back to Charles City. Found on the Carrie Chapman Catt Suffrage and Peace Advocate webpage, after she moved back to Charles City following her first husband, Leo's death, she joined the Iowa Women's Suffrage Association. Carrie worked for this organization as a professional writer. She also served as a lecturer. Not long after she'd been there, she was appointed the group's recording secretary. She was also the Iowa's Association state organizer in 1890 to 1892. Carrie married George Catt in 1890. Carrie became nationally involved in the National American Women's Suffrage Association after marrying George Catt. Carrie began speaking nationally. Carrie even gave a speech in the National Organizations Convention at Washington, D.C. Eventually, after speaking and writing, she was considered a leading suffrage. Katie was asked by Susan B. Anthony to address Congress about a women's suffrage amendment. Carrie replaced Anthony in 1990 and became the NAWSA president. Carrie helped to organize the International Women's Suffrage Alliance. This incorporated sympathetic associations in 32 nations. Carrie stood down as NAWSA president in 1904. She did this to care for her ill husband. He died in 1905. It is said on the webpage of Carrie Chapman Catt National American Women's Suffrage Association collection that to help with the grieving process, she was advised by her friends and family to travel. She did so and was able to spread the word of women's suffrage all over the world. In 1915, Carrie finally came back to the United States to once again become a leader of NAWSA, which seemed to be falling apart with the leadership of Anne Howard Shaw. Carrie devised her willing plan and shared it at NAWSA convention in Atlantic City, New Jersey. She stated that there must be a campaigning continuously for the women's suffrage. This would need to happen on the state and federal levels. This would also come to an agreement for partial suffrage in the states opposing change. All this planning and work soon showed some actual major progress for women in our nation. While under Carrie Chapman Catt's leadership, NAWSA was successful in getting support for the U.S. House and Senate, and also state support to have the amendment ratified. New York passed a state women's suffrage ballot. President Wilson was finally won over by the cause in 1918. The 19th Amendment was officially made part of the United States Constitution on August 26, 1920. After the amendment was passed, Carrie stepped down from the NAWSA president position. Carrie continued working for equal suffrage and promoting the cause. In the book, Votes for Women, the story of Carrie Chapman Catt, published in 2003, noted by Barbara Ann Somerville, Carrie founded the new League for Women of Voters and served as honorary president for the rest of her life. In 1925, Carrie founded the National Committee on the Cause and Cure of War. On March 9th, in 1947, Carrie died at her New York home of heart failure. As you can tell, Carrie was a very crucial person to women's suffrage. She has a background that ties her to Iowa. She did an amazing thing for women's suffrage and women everywhere, and she was eventually able to help with the passing of the amendment. To the wrongs that need resistance, to the right that needs assistance, to the future in the distance, give yourselves, Carrie Chapman Catt.